What's up, podheads? Podioslave podcast, episode 65. Is that right, guys? We're at 65 now?
Ready for retirement. But not really.
No.
Kick off the sandals, open the newspaper. I took a geezer. 65.
Put on a podcast.
Yeah. Well, not a lot of people that age are doing that, unfortunately. But hey, if you are, thank you. If you're listening to us, even better. I know my dad, your dad, Tuan, we've had a few dads check us out, so cool stuff. Hit us on the socials at Podioslave on Twitter and Instagram. Email us podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. We're on TikTok. Our reels on Instagram have been kicking into high gear. We've had some fun content just kind of kicking out of those spots. YouTube's had some bits and pieces of the episodes go out on their own. So if you want a bite-sized version of the Podioslave podcast, you can get it there. But yeah, I mean, we're everywhere. We are all over the internet. You can't escape us. There's no escaping this. I'm
going to pause right there. Just from doing the YouTube stuff, YouTube is where all the internet haters congregate.
Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even think we need to pause. Like, that can stay.
No. That's staying in. I'm just saying, like, hey, let's just acknowledge that's where the haterade is. It's all on YouTube.
We get hated on the other night. I posted a bit of episode 61, and it was about, we talked about MGK selling out, in quotation marks, his tour. And somebody was like, oh, using MGK for views. And I was like, we're not haters. We actually like MGK. We like that album. We want to go see MGK live. I don't want to pay $200 for the shittiest seats in the house because he put them all on Ticketmaster's verified venue bullshit. Like, watch the video before you hate.
Yeah, you're the
hater. Yeah. Haters going to hate. We really want views. Let's say Taylor Swift every other word or something.
Right. Which we've done before, but it doesn't, who knows?
Joke's on that guy because that's engagement all day.
Yeah, he's only making the Podioslave podcast stronger. Much appreciated, hater. So let's recap. Last week we didn't get a chance to kind of do after the episode with Greg because we had Greg on for the whole time. So Greg Bergdorf, episode 64, giving us a lot of insight to his touring life with the band Zebrahead back in the day. So, I mean, what a blast, right? Talking to Greg it's hard to not have a smile on your face the whole time because he's just so like happy and infectiously happy with everything. It was just fun to talk to him again, and I can't wait to do it again. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, he was awesome as usual, per usual. And I think the coolest part about Greg's answers to those questions is they're not even remotely in the realm of, my thought process. I always think it's going to be like a quick answer, maybe something stereotypical or even like a little off the radar. But he gives us like an in-depth, deep dive, snapshot of all the answers to those stories or questions that we had. So good on Greg, and cool to hear his perspective. Like we were talking about 20 years in the touring game. So that's quite the experience.
So I was thinking about it this last week. He's actually the perfect guy to have on the segment. For actually 4 reasons. 1, we love his music. He's just fantastic. 1, 2, he's got the personality for it. 3, he did it for so long. It was almost 20 years. But 4, and this one might be a surprise, he's out of the touring game. So he has a step back lens of not being like blinded by being in it, which I think, I don't know if that influences answers or whatnot, but I think it was just cool to get that perspective of reflection and not of like, I'm living in this day to day. Cause I almost think a lot of bands, they get worn down by it, obviously, when they're in the thick of it, and they might not have a positive light on it. Or I don't know, some bands they swear by the road. That's all they want to do. But I think with all those things, God damn, I love that episode. I listened back to it this week. What a funny guy. Just a genuine dude.
Well, and I think he meshes well. He does mesh well with us. Like we've had, obviously not having him on 3 times now, we know each other's beats a little better, and there's something to be said for practicing, conversing with somebody. Like I can talk to you guys all day. We all know how each other is going to handle that. But, the first time we have an interview guest on, we don't know them very well. You can tell there's a little bit of feeling each other out, especially early on in interviews. But, second and third time with Greg, we're all pretty comfortable. It was awesome. I think it shined through from start to finish with this one.
Yeah, I kind of compare it to like a late show comedy host with a fellow comedian. They kind of like did the shows together. They did like the upbringing in the comedy scene together. Like we weren't musicians, but we've clearly been around Greg enough to like, I don't know, I guess be on that level. Just like shoot the shit and it's like, oh, Greg's back. Cool, let's get him back on. Like for him, he's a guest, but he's like family now. Just
kind of friend. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So big ups to Greg. Big ups to anybody that's checked that episode out and stuck around. We've got all kinds of fun conversations lined up. We're not even slowing down. I know we're 65 and we're retirement age now, but hey, no, we're going to keep this bad boy rolling.
I will say thank you to anyone that just checked us out for the first time last week for Greg, who's happened to be listening now. We love it. Thank you for sticking around. Can't thank you enough. Check out the back catalog. Check out the other Greg episodes. Don't leave. We love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay forever.
Yeah. Stay for as long as we do anyway, right? Yeah, so check those out. Check those back catalog out. That'd be awesome. But yeah, so set list. We have a couple quick set list items that piqued our interest. First off, I think that show in Florida, you guys saw this, I sent to you, the show, there's a punk show in Florida that is charging $999.99 if you haven't been vaccinated and $18 if you have been vaccinated. So kind of a ploy to get people to get vaccinated to go to live music. Funny, interesting. What do you guys think?
It's funny, but it's almost, I don't know. It seems like more of a joke than anything. I mean, it takes place in Florida, which Florida was pretty lax on everything. So, right, is this kind of a joke, insider joke? No one's really going to pay that much money to see a show not vaccinated. So, I don't know. I feel like this could be one big joke. And hey, everyone's welcome. $18 all in. I'm not going, but
yeah, I mean, it's for eyeballs and attention, and they're not the only venue to preach getting vaccinated. Like the State Theater, they went viral. They went viral this past week. If you saw those, vaccinations, a gateway drug to live music, that was from our home state. Lauren Wayne episode, Tone, you know the number.
52.
50. You know what's funny is you could say any number, Nate and I would nod. Yep, we trust you.
Yeah. Gullible.
But, But it is episode 52.
I think I just trust you so much that I'm like, there's no way it's off.
Frantically looking it up to make sure I'm correct.
Oh, shit.
But that's the venues know that, that it's in their best interest, right? And we're not going to go if you believe it or not, whatever. But I think this is, you said it, Nate. No one's going to do this. They know no one's going to do it. In fact, they're not even going to be checking if anyone at the door, for vaccination cards. I can't imagine.
I don't know, man. I
really?
Yeah. Well, I think if you bought your ticket, they've probably been checked. If you're getting one for $18 versus $999.99.
How would they do that?
I don't know. I know my wife was in Vermont last week, about a week ago now, and places were asking for her card
really?
In Vermont. Yeah, and she, we've both been vaccinated because we work in the healthcare field, and we were vaccinated like 5 months ago, and she just didn't have a picture of it on her phone. Now she does, obviously, because if we want to go anywhere and people might start asking for that to get into places. It was more not getting in. It was more like you don't have to wear your mask here if you're vaccinated type deal. So I wouldn't be shocked if people are going to start asking for that in places. Now, Florida, probably not. Yeah, right. Florida's been whatever from the start. So, Florida's going to Florida. As I said to you guys in the pre-show talk, they won't do it. But places like Vermont or Maine or, some of the blue states up north, I could see that happening. You
know what this reminds me of? Remember back in the 90s, Pepsi points?
And, all right, let's hear this. Let's hear it. Finish.
Yeah, this is where I'm going. Hear me out. So the grand prize, I don't know if you guys remember, the commercial and everything. There's probably a commercial on YouTube or something, where the grand prize was a Harrier jet.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Jet that kind of levitates up and down, which is obviously strictly for military personnel. So someone or a group of people actually saved enough Pepsi points to get that jet, and Pepsi declined. They're like, oh, shit, that was more of like this concert, more of a joke. So the fact that they went through with this, I don't know how they ended up settling it, but that obviously didn't go through. So if someone was really like, you know what, I'm not fucking getting vaccinated, so I'm going to pay the money. At that point, what happens? Do they allow the person in, or do they say, hey, yeah, we were just kidding. Sorry.
That's a good question. I don't know. It'd probably be up to the venue / whatever state mandates are going on. And we know it's Florida, so there aren't really a lot. So probably just let them in.
One thing I've learned, Nate, is never to doubt your analogies. I know we dogged on them for a while, but the whole Gateway Computers and the cows thing, I forgot that was their branding. That was their packaging.
Yep. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I haven't thought of Pepsi points since I was, in 7th grade. So good pull there.
Yeah, rewind it back.
I got a tangent for you on that. Remember when Mountain Dew used to do the NCAA March Madness basketball, the colleges underneath the caps? And if you got the winner, you could send it in and like maybe win a hat or a jersey or something. But it was always like teams that were 15 seeds. So you never had a chance. No, you're never going to get a Duke or UNC under the cap. You're always getting Oral Roberts or the Citadel, teams that were never going to win it.
The secret there is you send in the crappy teams and see if they just grease it through. Good
point. Maybe read it. Somebody just open and, oh, hey, there's a cap. I guess we got to send them a Duke jersey.
But I think you're right, Nate. They're not expecting anyone to do it. In fact, the Loudwire article that we read mentioned that no one up to that point, which I think was just a couple days ago, May 29th, no one had purchased a $9.99 ticket.
Yet. Maybe they have by now.
And just like the YouTube comments, there are a lot of haters. That's what the article said. There's a lot of haters.
Well, whoever was putting it on, I think the quote was, apparently it's bad to like worry about other people's well-being. Oh, where have we gone wrong?
So much divide.
But I will say this. Had this not happened, I would never have known there was a Teenage Bottle Rocket show in St. Pete.
Right. Yeah. So good on them. Good promotion.
Yeah, now I'm wondering about the band members. If they don't get vaccinated, do they get the $9.99 docked from their advance?
Maybe. You're playing the show in the red. You owe us.
Pay to play, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh God.
All right, Twan, you had another one, right? What was the other set list item we talked about?
Yeah, in this, I don't think we're going to deep dive too much into the specifics here, but it's the kind of a theme, and we're going to think ahead, as far as when shows come back, and are we going to see more of this and whatnot? So the punchline here is Vince Neil, Motley Crue fame. He returns to the stage. I'm not sure the nature of the show. It was I'm not sure. I guess he joined Sammy Hagar for something. It was I don't even know what it was, but he lost his voice. I guess went off stage, came back, lost his voice again, and said something like, fuck, I lost my voice, or something like that. So for me, again, I'm not the biggest Motley Crue fan. I think they're kind of cool back in the day, the whole party thing, and they're iconic or whatever. But I just couldn't help but think about our Frank Turner episode, where he's just like, there's this muscle memory and these muscles that you have to maintain in order to, whether it's voice, whether it's your physical muscles holding a guitar, all this stuff. So are we going to see, like, when I go see that Gojira show in the fall, like, are they going to have like a 5-song set list? What are we looking at here?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, not just a show this fall, some shows this summer. I mean, any of these bands that haven't been out doing it, because they haven't been, right? A lot of them have maybe done a live stream or two here and there, but they haven't played in front of people. And you brought it back to the Frank Turner episode 59. I didn't have to look it up. He mentioned being tired doing one of his live streams, or he did 2 of them, and halfway through being like, man, this is harder than I remember it, because I haven't done it in a while. Like, playing on your couch is one thing with your cat hanging out next to you. Standing, jumping around, playing guitar, trying to sing, depending on what you play for music. I mean, that Gojira show is going to go hard, I'm sure. Knock Loose going to go hard. There's some energy that needs to be expended to do that. And like, how are bands going to handle that? So that's a big question going forward, I think, for all of us, fans, musicians alike.
Yeah, I'm trying to reflect on like shows I've seen where it was the first show of the tour. And I think a few times I can remember kind of in the back of my hand, like where they were a little rusty, maybe like 1 or 2 songs. For the most part, it seemed like pretty worked out. But that was still somewhat a normal setting pre-COVID, because, you'd rehearse. A lot of the bands do like club shows and stuff like that, so you get a little feel for the crowd prior, work out some material. But full on like stadium shows, like you really can't rehearse a stadium show other than your rehearsal space and like, whatever people are lucky enough to be in that room. But yeah, I don't know. It's the difference between like baseball. You have spring training, and then you play the stadiums, but you can't play a farm league game and call that practice. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of many kind of mishaps we see as the live industry comes back to fruition. And one that makes me think is Corey Taylor, right? He's doing the solo thing right now. Maybe that's just a warm up for this huge Slipknot tour that he's doing. Good on him.
That's actually a good point, because he can flip those songs with different arrangements and not belt it out. And it could just be a warm up. That could be a strategic, like, now that we know, like, or were reminded that this can happen. And now it's like, okay, well, maybe that was the move all along, is have him ease into it via the solo tour. But you made me remember, and like, it's kind of one of those like only nerds know. It's like one of those unspoken rules. Never go to the first date on a tour and never go to the last date. The first date, they're rusty as hell. The last date, the vocalist is their voice is shot, right?
Yeah.
But I think I mentioned this on the pod, I don't know, way back in whatever, we're retired now, so this was way back in the day. I know we're not professional musicians, but try doing one song karaoke. Your voice is gone. You know what I mean? And if you're not, even if you're a professional and you're not maintaining that, yeah, it's gonna happen. What happened to Vince Neil? You're gonna be done. Not
to mention the years of partying and drugs and all the stuff that Vince Neil's done allegedly over the years. So yeah, that becomes a detriment too.
Yeah, that different climates. I mean, imagine going on tour. We all get winded. Like you said, we're 65, winded from just like a little bit of traveling. A full on tour as a aging musician. Like, I'm still shocked, and I think Greg kind of gave some insight on, hey, sometimes there's a voice track. Sometimes the person's not actually singing. So there may be more of that come 2021 going forward too, is people kind of mimicking the words but not actually singing, and maybe, unfortunately, a lot of band members not actually playing the music. I hate to see that, but
I'm gonna start looking for it now, and that Greg ruined that for me, I think, because I'm gonna notice more than I did before. It's a magic trick.
Yeah. No, you joke, but I know you're not joking.
No, yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. Get tickets to a show in about a month. Excited to see how that goes.
Oh, another big nerd thing coming out of Greg's episode is he mentioned. Actually, I'm trying to think. Did he mention the best place to hear the show was next to the sound guy?
Next to the sound guy. Yep.
I mean, so obvious, but like, never thought of that.
We've done it before. You and I did it at POS and Brand New.
Yep.
Well, think about that bill for a second. POS and Brand New down in Hampton Beach. And I mean, there's a handful of times that's where I've stood at Hampton Beach. I kind of like that spot at Hampton Beach.
Yep.
Because it's in the middle of everything, but you can be kind of away from stuff. And then if you're near in the right spot, you might get the set list after, which I've done before. So.
Yep.
And at the State Theater, that middle tier bar, it's right. You're right there.
Yep. Nerd insights. That's what we do. That's what we do here.
And we get it from the pros.
He confirmed it.
And if you had "That's what we do," Tone saying "That's what we do," you drink. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. In real time. I'm not going
to. No, don't do it, Nate. Don't do it. That is an interesting segment thought for us. Like, how is this all going to be? And not just for our side. Like, how is it going to be for the musicians who haven't been able to do it the way that they had been doing it for a very long time, or haven't done anything in a very long time. So those things are going to be, I mean, there's some mental health stuff there too, that it's going to be difficult. You haven't seen that many people in front of you for that long. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. I mean, we're here for it. I'm excited to go see shows. There's still going to be an energy in the place that is probably unlike any other concert, especially early on, that we've seen. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, I look forward to that. Coming up soon. Shows summer 2021. It's on. Segway King. Speaking of comebacks, we got a little segment going on tonight. Twan came up with this one. I like it a lot. Comeback albums. What does that mean, Twan?
It can mean anything. It can mean multiple things to multiple people. You know, I think rules. Yeah, I mean, I think when most people think comeback albums, they think in terms of years. You know, a band comes back after a decade, or a band comes back after a flop, and 7 years later they come back with a banger and whatnot. That's not always the case. And I don't know, should we leave it at that and let our picks do the talking, or we want to dive into that?
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way to do it, because then after we can do a little post-mortem on it after, for sure.
Okay. So who's
leading off?
Is gonna start us off?
Nate.
All right, sweet. Well, I had wrote one down. First one to come to mind was an album that dropped quite a while ago. I consider this a comeback album because it's a comeback after a serious bomb. And the band I'm talking about is Metallica.
Wow.
Yeah. After Saint Anger, good old Death Magnetic. You guys familiar with this record?
Yep.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I was a big Metallica fan, still am. But at this time, I don't know, kind of in particular, I was living with a friend, Joe, who is a huge Metallica fan. It's his favorite band of all time. So I was listening to all their back catalog, kind of concentrated in this time, 2008, when this dropped. And it's the return of the Metallica thrash metal sound, which I think any big fan from back in the day can appreciate. And after Saint Anger, it was kind of like, as a fan, if they don't put something out that can be better than Saint Anger, then it might be, too bad for this band for quite a while. So, but yeah, this record dropped, man. I freaking love this record, front to back. The Day That Never Comes. That song is an instant classic. Saw them on this tour and everything, and they were just firing on all cylinders. I think this was kind of like their last like huge hurrah as a band in terms of like energy and putting out timeless music. They put out some good records since, but this one, like for like full on cohesive, was like my last favorite Metallica record, and just a straight up comeback for the band in my eyes.
Yeah, no, I agree. Saint Anger, if you go back and listen to it and you take it for what it is and you don't benchmark it against the early stuff, and I didn't really like Load and Reload were just okay, but if you don't benchmark it against the other stuff, it's not that bad. So it's a context is key. But this album, and even the one after, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, picks up right where this leads off. Like, if you got rid of Load, Reload, and Saint Anger, it's like a perfect fucking catalog.
True.
And I know that's not what this segment is, but yes, absolutely. It's the second one with the bassist there from Suicidal Tendencies, Robert.
Yep. Robert Trujillo.
Yep. And one thing I remember about this album, it's super long.
Yeah.
Do you remember that about it?
Yeah.
I think it's like 80 minutes long.
I think it is. I know it's more than an hour, and because it's kind of a drawn out, like there's lots of solos and stuff like that. So it seems even longer than it is, even at clocking over an hour. And obviously thrash metal is very fast. So it's weird that it's long with like fast paced, full on, what does Greg call it? Thrash or shredders, it's just a shredding album. So
I'll be honest, not an album I've spent a ton of time with. And similar, Tony, you make a good point about Saint Anger. If that's not a Metallica album and it's just an album that's put out, people might like that a lot more than the fact that it's in the middle of a Metallica catalog that, is so much better on the bookends than it is in the middle. Controversial opinion. I like Load and Reload.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like the same thing.
They're the same.
It fits the context of the 90s, I think.
Exactly.
One. And then two, same thing as Saint Anger. I mean, those are better than Saint Anger, but same thing there where it's like, yeah, you benchmark them against those bookends, like you're going to fall short.
Totally.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's, for me, it was hearing Metallica around that time that those albums came out, Load and Reload, that I was into it. And it was just because of, time and place for me. Had I gotten into Metallica 10 years prior, I probably wouldn't like those very much. But I was more listening to them around mid to late 90s as I was discovering different things. And that's probably why I ride for those. Now, that being said, I'm not a huge Metallica fan, but I don't hate those with the way that a lot of Metallica fans do.
Yeah, you brought something up that I thought of too. Like I knew Metallica before this record, but I think because I was doing it, I was in such a deep dive of the band with my roommate that is the biggest fan. It's like I studied them deeper than I ever had before. So then to like see this record drop and kind of like a rejuvenation of the band, and they're just like killing it live. It kind of gave me, I don't know, new hope for the band. Because I mean, Saint Anger, not going to lie, like I think not everyone, but everyone that can agree that the album's not as tight as it could be, kind of thinks like that's the end of something amazing. Like that band could have just essentially disbanded at that point going forward. So, but at the same time, like you said, like you got into Load and Reload at that time. It's hard not to appreciate that stuff extremely well because of that time. So I wonder if there's anyone out there that got into Metallica at Saint Anger going forward and was just like, no, it's the best. That's when I got into them,
I don't think there is.
No, there isn't.
Yeah,
the answer is no.
And this album was produced by Rick Rubin.
Yep.
Death Magnetic.
Interesting.
Let's get him on the pod.
He does his own one, and
yeah,
just he's just walking around without shoes on, man. Like that's just what he does. It's been a while since I've shit on Rick Rubin, and I love Rick Rubin. Like I listen to that podcast. I love music that he's been involved in. Like it's just, I think it's funny.
This is a great pick because it actually fits the essence of
the comeback,
the spirit of this segment in more than one ways. Like in terms of duration, I think there was 5 or 6 years between this and Saint Anger, but it also has the recovery from a flop.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I've heard this, but like in sports, like people only remember your last at bat. You know what I mean? Where it's like people got a short memory. So, but at the same time, if you drop 2 duds in a row, like people have moved on, unless you have a banger catalog. But in most cases, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you're a Metallica fan going way back, you get Load, Reload, Saint Anger, you're probably like, bro, I might be out.
Yeah,
The next time an album comes out. So Saint Anger, was that the Some Kind of Monster DVD, the album they made for that?
Yeah.
Documentary, whatever.
Yeah, I think that was the documentary was 04, album was 03, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Good pick. Twan, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm kind of toying with where to start here because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fuck it, I'll pick one. It's actually an album that just celebrated 17-year anniversary, and we did a post on our Instagram about it. And do you guys know what it is?
I should. I mean,
I should too. You don't. I'm surprised.
17 years, so that's 2000.
Oh, I know what it is. Killswitch Engage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Killswitch.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. The End of Heartache. And you could, I don't know, maybe you could choose a different album of theirs for this comeback. But I chose this one because, so Jesse Leach was the longtime vocalist. He left in 02. I guess he had like a bout of depression and he moved on. So they hustled to get someone in, Howard Jones. And in 2004, so a couple years later, and Howard was with Blood Has Been Shed up to that point, but he tried out, and I guess Phil Labonte, the dude from All That Remains, was in the mix as well. So like, you know, a couple of Massachusetts guys going at it. But I guess Howard Jones got it. And at that point, like, Killswitch is on Roadrunner. Alive or Just Breathing did well. They have an upward trajectory. It could go any way. Like, granted, a lot of metal vocalists, it's kind of interchangeable to some extent unless they have like vocal range. And I think when Howard came in, it introduced a harmony and melody that there's some of that, but it just took it to a whole nother level. Like, we can fact check this if you're listening, fact check this. I think End of Heartache is their biggest album, like in sales. I think it went gold.
Yep.
So they were at the peak of their powers. But that's one of those things that a new vocalist sometimes won't work for a number of different reasons, whether it's fit, whether it's sound, whether it's for all those reasons. But I think this, for me, this is a classic case of new singer could bust, but it just took them to a whole nother level, which is interesting because I did read that Howard almost didn't take the gig because the previous stuff was more melodic than he wanted to go, but he took them to an even more melodic place. But I love this record. I think we all do. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the album of Killswitch's that I like the most. I like Killswitch stuff. I'll come back to it here and there. But because of what you said, the more melodic hardcore, like that's doing this podcast has kind of unearthed a few things for me, and this is one of them. I like hardcore, but I like hardcore, but I like it to be a certain way, and this fits that mold for me, and that's probably why I like it so much. He fit in seamlessly with what they were doing at the time, and they had radio hits, which was kind of crazy, and it just, for a band like that to turn into that, it could have, like you said, gone a bunch of different ways, but it went probably the best possible route for them as a band, commercially anyway, with that. Now, some might say they like Jesse better, and then he came back, right? I mean, we saw him.
He's back, yeah.
Yeah,
he's back now.
Nate, we saw him, right? At the State
Theater.
Yep. Yeah, probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago.
2012.
So 9 years ago, before you left. And awesome show, but Jesse had just come back, I think.
I believe so.
And
it wasn't with Howard.
No, and they put a new album out, and that album was good too. I like that album a lot, but I found myself kind of wishing Howard had been there for some of those End of Heartache songs. So I'm with you. Great comeback, different way with a new lead singer that can go so many different ways.
Yeah, and perfect timing too. Like when this dropped, May 11th, 2004. I was so into this genre, like so big, and so proud that there was so much amazing metal from New England. So, you know, them being from Massachusetts, I think we were talking about, at least off air, the Slipknot show I saw, Slipknot with Killswitch and Lamb of God. It was just like, man, sorry, it was Shadows Fall, I think. And just so much love for New England and to see this kind of talent. But Howard, man, I'm not going to lie, like I had never heard anyone sing like that in this genre at that level. Like you said, I think he really took the band to a new place. But for me as a listener, like this opened up a Pandora's box of like, oh, there's so much good stuff out there that I don't even know about. And this band did kind of cross over to mainstream, I think, with this album, but for good reason. I mean, it's just a masterpiece and so well produced. And I just can't imagine. We were talking about like vocal fallouts earlier with Vince Neil. Like I can't imagine like toggling back and forth from the scream and like his just extremely soulful singing on this album just blows me away. That's talent on another scale.
Yeah, he's a showman. He's definitely a showman. I'm trying to think. I believe I saw Killswitch with Howard once, but I also saw Howard with Blood Has Been Shed down at the New England Metal Hardcore Fest down in Worcester at the Palladium. He actually played with Blood Has Been Shed upstairs, which was awesome. But yeah, I mean, this was that golden era of, it was basically the equivalent of nu metal, but like 6 years later. It was, you know, because that's when all those bands made it to Ozfest. Killswitch, Every Time I Die, Avenged Sevenfold, Shadows Fall, All That Remains. It was basically nu metal, you know, with probably more roots 5 or 6 years later. And I think these guys led I think maybe Avenged got bigger, but I prefer Killswitch.
Agreed.
night and day. But yeah, this was a comeback album, and they carried the torch from there. And they've always been good, but this brought them the commercial success without the sellout. Although, like, My Curse off the next album did get the radio treatment. Like, there was a radio edited version of it, which has less screaming. But anyway, yeah, Killswitch, End of Heartache. Really
cool. Go check our Instagram. There's a couple of different times where you'll see the Killswitch Engage light switch cover, which is just great marketing. Whoever came up with that and whenever that popped off, great marketing. That's cool shit.
I got that with the CD, I'm pretty sure, at Bull Moose.
Man, remember when we used to buy CDs and they would come with the cool random promo thing? Like, why doesn't that happen anymore with the vinyl? The vinyl's so fucking expensive too. Like, give us something cool to go with it, like a cover,
a koozie or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, give me a koozie.
Anything. Give me a flat. We used to get flats occasionally too. I have a From Chaos flat from 311. So tangent. Sorry.
Even that Papa Roach, the shopping bag. Like, come on, something.
Yeah.
A keychain. Let's go.
Anything, right?
Step it up, labels. Come on, make it worth a while.
Wait a second. Am I stalling? Am I the new Nate? Oh no.
Hey, I didn't drop trade spend in that. And that's like, now I do.
Damn it.
CPG.
I love it. Okay, so I guess I'll give you guys one now. I've got a couple here lined up. The one that I probably spent the most time researching it's a comeback. It's a comeback that was long overdue. It was rumored to be happening for a long time. And it's Chinese Democracy by Guns N' Roses. No, I'm just kidding. It's a band we've talked about numerous times. And the album, a couple albums prior to, just had a 20-year anniversary. We posted about it. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. No. Wow.
No. Silence.
I don't.
All right, I'll give you one more, Nate. I'll give you one hint that you might know. Remember, there was a year, it was an April Fool's Day joke where the front man said that he found Jesus and he'd no longer be making music.
Oh, Tool?
Yep, Tool.
That was the best, too, because...
we both believed it. We were so naive.
Everyone believed it, and he ended up punking, tangent here, Head from Korn, and he embraced it. He's like, hey, yeah, brother, come to the other side. Or, you know,
I remember that, yeah.
And I felt so bad.
Brother.
I felt
this is like
so bad.
early music internet too, right? Like there isn't a lot of it, but there's some, and people are like reading this headline that Maynard is leaving Tool a couple of years after Lateralis comes out. Everybody's like, "Oh no, we've just lost one of the biggest frontmen in the genre, or in music in general." And he was just messing with everybody because it was April Fool's Day.
Yep, and that's Maynard being Maynard.
So this album came out 13 plus years after 10,000 Days, which came out in 2006. This came out late August of 19, so it's almost 2 years old. It's 10 songs. Do you guys have any idea how long it is?
It's like 80 minutes.
It's 80 minutes, like 79 and change.
Oh wow! Nice.
And that's with like 3 songs that are just like noise that aren't even actual songs. So leave it to Tool to give you a 79-minute 7-song album, pretty much. It's the kind of the timeline for this. Obviously, they put an album out in 2006, and then everybody was just like, "Oh, when's the next Tool album?" Maybe it'll be 4 years, maybe it'll be 5 years, because they were kind of on that longer schedule. 2008, there was rumors about it. So that's 2 years out. Nothing. 2012, more rumors. Nothing. 2013, 14, they had some legal battles, some stuff go on, a couple accidents. Nope. 2016, they're saying that they've got some stuff down and things are, moving along. But Maynard's still doing Pussifer stuff. He's still doing A Perfect Circle stuff. Still nothing. So not until late or early 2018 did we hear most of the music is done. Maynard is now going to do his thing. And then he took his time and put his vocals to it. And we got new music July of 19. And then all of their music finally hit streaming in August of 19. It hadn't been, they were one of the last big holdouts and they weren't on streaming service. This was to help, obviously, promote new music coming out. But I wonder how much they made just from that first month without,
oh my God.
Right? Like people being able to just pull up Tool catalog and listen to it finally on streaming. Because I know I did a ton, even though I own all of it. But yeah, so crazy. That's, and the album's really good. I mean, I'm a Tool fan. They weren't going to put something out that I didn't like, but the songs that are songs, they're long, but they're just so damn good. And it's a great showcase for how amazing Danny Carey is.
And you're talking about Fear Inoculum?
Yes, Fear Inoculum.
Yep.
Sorry, did I not say it? I was so excited.
Oh, if you did, I missed it. I mean, I knew what you're talking about.
I didn't say it.
Nate, what do you think of this album?
Oh, man, I love this album so much. And when it dropped, I think I was kind of like clinching the desk, like, man, this could be a flop, which is impossible for Tool, but because of all those delays you just mentioned and inner band dynamics, like everyone knows the band members in Tool are kind of like not friendly with each other. Like, I guess Maynard, is kind of separate from the band a lot of the times. So I didn't know what to expect. But as soon as I played it, it's the return of Tool. Like all Tool fans know, it's a sound that's so unique between these four members. I know it's not all original members, but I mean, they might as well be at this point. I think.
At this point, yep. Justin Chancellor's been with them since Lateralis, right?
Yeah. So it's been quite a while. But also in retrospect, had this not dropped in 2019, this might have never come out and the band would have completely disbanded, So luck of the draw, before COVID, this dropped. And I love this album, man. It's definitely a listen through, which was great because that was like the clinching the desk thing. Like, it might be good, but it might not be like a playthrough album. But it totally is. Still has that weirdness and spacey, like you said, Danny Carey showcasing everyone on this band on this album shines.
Do we know when these songs were written? Like what year? And the reason I ask is like I'm trying to think of like how long did they sit on a completed album?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't think they sat on it for very long. I think musically maybe it sat for a little while, but as far as in researching this, they had like was it one of the songs they were playing, Descending, I think they were playing live, but it was shorter than the actual album version, which is long. I think it's like 12 minutes. They were, playing bits and pieces. There was a riff that they tried to use on 10,000 Days that they couldn't fit in, that came from like 15 years before that they finally fit in on Tempest. So like there was some stuff obviously out there, but getting it all from point A to finish took a while. And the way that they do it is that most of their music is done prior to Maynard getting his hands on it, and then he will write lyrics around and harmonies, melodies, stuff like that around it to make things work, which is probably a little different than a lot of bands do it. But yeah, I don't think it sat for super long, honestly.
Because the reason I ask is like it's just such a long time to go between albums that like there's like the typical stuff you can attribute it to, which is interband dynamics, other side projects. But I'm just wondering, like, when you get down to brass tacks, like, what was it? Was it they just never got, like, they literally were never in a room together and it wasn't a priority, or they are perfectionists and they couldn't come to a conclusion? Like, I'm just so curious, and I don't know with this album or this or
speculating.
Or
these guys, both of those.
Yeah.
Interband dynamics and perfectionism.
Yeah, that could be it. Be good to know. Got to get someone on here. Danny would be great.
Yeah. I mean, couple fun facts. It was mastered in Portland. Bob Ludwig at Gateway, which obviously has mastered a bunch of Tool stuff, and I think Danny has a residence in Southern Maine somewhere. So it's not his only, but I think they do. When they're mastering, they probably are in town. I've heard rumors of them being at one of our local dive bars, getting beers around their time of mastering. So back in the day, not anytime recent, but yeah, it's an awesome record. It's not my favorite Tool record. I mean, Lateralis is probably that one, but And I like 10,000 Days better too, but this is just kind of picks up where 10,000 Days left off and has some really great, just it's a Tool record. Like Nate said, it's something that you can sink your teeth into, sit and listen an hour and 40 minutes or whatever, and not even know that you did. And oh man, I did that today. I was in the car the whole time I was driving around today and plowed through it. So man, I haven't listened to this in too long. This is great.
Yeah, it's one of a kind. It's kind of like a Star Trek movie franchise, right? Like it's one thing. It's not replicatable. There's no other Star Wars. There's no other Tool. Are some better than others? For sure. I think that has to do with place and time, like you had referenced earlier. And then Twan, in reference to the album being written, I mean, I can only imagine that the band is doing that tweak back and forth. And maybe it's just like, okay, we finally went through all this hair pulling behind the scenes. Maynard, just whatever you got, just add it to it. Because obviously if Maynard had written for a Tool album 10 years ago, everything he had would have scrapped. So I'm sure it's a lot of that too. Right. He's like, oh, I was ready, and then you guys took longer. Now that shit's still relevant. So Tool's such an interesting case study.
Well, I read a quote from Maynard too, in researching this. It was like, everybody thinks they're the reason we're successful, and this happens in a lot of bands, especially big ones that have success, where I think I'm the reason. Let's do it my way. No one says no to me. And if you've got 4 people pulling that way, that becomes difficult. On top of the fact that you've got other things going on, and then they had some legal stuff too. Yeah, that's going to make it difficult to want to put time and effort into something as intricate and detail oriented as a Tool record is.
So I'm trying to articulate the thought in my head, but I think Tool is one of the rare case studies where a 13-year gap may have actually benefited them, in that when you have a gap like that, it can go either way. You can be forgotten like yesterday's newspaper, or there's the hype that builds. And I think it all points to the quality of the original product. If that's a banger, like say your favorite beer went away, and then for 10 years, then that same brewery pops up, you're going to check it out because the product was good. But like, man, there's some artists that if they came back after 13 years, no one would care.
Well, see my Guns N' Roses pun from the beginning of this. They were 14, right? And Chinese Democracy definitely wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So that's a perfect point.
Well, it's like Dr. Dre's Compton. I don't know if you guys chose that, but like I couldn't get into that.
No, me either.
And now he's like, all right, you left us hanging. Detox never came out. We got Compton. I've kind of moved on, to the extent that if there was a new Dre album, I'd check it out, but there's maybe not that hype.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another controversial opinion. I think this is the last album we ever see from Tool. It's probably not that controversial, but
just given their age. I mean, Danny just turned 60, right, or something.
He did, yeah, a couple weeks ago.
So yeah, you're probably right.
Still a friggin' beast on the drums, though, man.
I know.
And they'll tour for a little while, I'm sure, once they can. And I just don't know that they'll ever put forth the effort required to make a proper Tool album again.
Yeah, because an 80-minute album, you're not going into the studio and just recording it. Like a lot of bands write and record it all in the, this is years of juggling personalities, juggling calendars, juggling priorities. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, are they going to make an album when Danny's 73?
No.
Good one.
All right, Nate, what do you got? What's your second one?
Second one, but a little mini tangent before I go.
Ooh, okay.
Because you said Danny's 60, and this could be their last Tool record. And a record I almost chose for this segment was the Rolling Stones' A Bigger Bang, which dropped in 2006. I didn't choose it, and it's a great album, and I think it's a comeback album. And the only reason I bring it up is because Charlie Watts, their drummer, just turned 80, and they're still going strong. So,
well, they don't write the same level of intricate music this Tool does. As good as Keith Richards is on guitar, but I mean, it's not the same. That's why. That's why.
Yeah. No, the Stones are playing hits. I mean, I think that 06 album, Bigger Bang, was kind of like their last hurrah. And they still put out stuff, but that was their last proper release. So Tool, this might be their last proper release, maybe a few EPs or something, or a song or something. But yeah, had to highlight the drummer thing. 60's got another 20 years if he wants to catch up to Charlie Watts.
And Danny is a beast. Like, he probably could.
He probably could. Yeah. He's got enough stem cell research in him.
The only downfall for Danny is a Lakers fan.
Right.
I was going to say the Celtics jersey.
Yeah, he did that though. He did that when we saw him in Boston. I give him credit. He's an NBA fan. He gets that Boston cares, and obviously Boston and LA have had their share of battles over the years. But yeah, he's a Lakers fan. So I'm like, that's the one thing. That's the one knock. Not everybody's perfect, right?
All right. Well, tangent aside, this one is a little bit unique because it's I was looking at members coming back to bands, ended up crossing it off for new band member and how that relates to a comeback album. And one album that's kind of well regarded in my fandom for the band Incubus is Crow After the Murder. And although I love Dirk and his work on all the Incubus records leading up to this record, Ben Kenny's an amazing bassist and slays on this record. And I think they were definitely at a crossroads like, shit, we just put out 2 banger multi-platinum albums. Like, are we going to top it? Like, what are we going to do? And this album is definitely not in any, I don't know, it doesn't look like there's any pressure on the band's part to try to one-up commercial success because it's a pretty arty record. It's like an art rock, super funky and out there dream, like Incubus record. But I think it's a good comeback album for them because Ben Kenny is good and it's just a jazzy, kind of almost like hippie art rock record, and I really like it.
So this record, I'm trying to think back. I remember listening to it. I didn't run out and get it. Like I remember running out to get
Morning View.
Jesus, in 02. I will say this. I do need to revisit this just because I know you're hype on it. And yeah. I, through my 18, 19-year-old lens, coming off a 3-album run all day long, it just didn't scratch that itch. But again, it's one of those things like you're handicapped by brilliance. You know, Do you hold that against a band? Do you look at it as its own entity? And I think I would benefit from that. But this kind of flips comeback on its head in a traditional sense, which I think is awesome. You picked it. I'll pause there just knowing that I need to go revisit this because I don't remember loving this album.
I didn't love it when it came out initially. I now am in Nate's camp. This is a great record, and it's an underrated record from a band who, you know, obviously had their huge moments with Make Yourself and Morning View, but this album is really good, and it took me some time to get there with it. But you know, when it came out in 2004, right? I think it came out in 2004. I was a year into college, living at home. Not a lot of friends kicking around, so a lot of what I did was listen to music and hang out with the few friends that were around who also loved to do that. Our other friend Nate in North Carolina and our buddy Donnie, and this Nate was big into Incubus too, like we were, and we would have a few beers and listen to the records, and this was one that kind of started making its way in a little more. And I remember those times, I guess, and that's part of the reason I like it, but I ended up being a really big fan of it. And I actually, his Light Grenade's the one that came out after.
Yep.
I ride for that one too. A lot of people don't like that one. I think that one's great. And that's probably where they start to lose me. But man, that's a 5-album run record, 5-album run for me. Those from Science to Light Grenades, right? That's 5, I think. But yeah, this is a really good one. And you're right, Ben Kenny, formerly of The Roots, right?
Yep.
That's a good pull to change it that way for a comeback album, because it really is. It's a comeback and it's also like a departure at the same time, which is really cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think I wrote down comeback. It is kind of a departure, but comeback because I think everyone, fans included, like had that same sentiment that you had, Twan, which is, well, this is like this like polished band that's like OG from like the 90s, all original lineup for the most part, and just make timeless music. And then boom, like a key member, like Dirk was such a key member for the band's sound. For him to leave, it was like, oh, this band's toast, you know? And to hear a song, the first single come out, Megalomaniac, I think it was. Definitely wasn't a first listen for me. In fact, I shelved the record for that song alone. And as soon as I gave the record a full spin front to back, I'm like, oh, it's one of those albums where the singles like mediocre, but the deep cuts are like stand up to songs on Science, you know? And kind of have that funky, like Willy Wonka type out there stuff on it too. So, you know, I often, I know we did like an Incubus deep dive before, but I often put Science as one and kind of tie Make Yourself and this record quite a bit, like kind of goes back and forth from second and third place. So yeah, I like this record a lot. I spent a lot of time with it. That's probably why. So
if you had mastered in Portland, Maine drink, this was mastered by Bob Ludwig in Portland, which is pretty amazing. But I think back, where does a band like Incubus go after Morning View? You know what I mean? Like, and if you dial that same thought process back to Science, it's like if Incubus made another Science, they would have been El Nino. You know what I mean? Like they would have been, it would have, no diss if you're an El Nino fan. Revolution was great. Yeah. But it's one of those things. It's like that the evolution they took got them to where they are.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I kind of owe it to them to revisit this one.
Yeah. And Light Grenades, if you haven't, because I think Light Grenades is great. Pendulous Threads, fucking awesome Incubus song. It builds, it's badass. That's, I mean, tangent. Another tangent, because it's Incubus and we're talking about Incubus. When I started really collecting vinyl, probably around 10 years ago, they repressed a bunch of their stuff, right? They repressed Science, they repressed Make Yourself, Morning View. Nate, you already had Science, but you had ordered it from our local record store, Bulmus, to pick up. And I think my copy of Science, I think I ended up going in to buy it because you already had it. And I think my record, my Science record has your name on it still, like not printed, but like they saved for and whatever. And yeah, I think I still have that. I got to dig that out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Your name is on it. So much appreciated. Nerdery.
Yeah, that is nerdery. Sweet.
Good pull. And this is kind of why I paused when we were describing the segment like 30 minutes ago of like, it's not just come back in terms of duration. It's come back a sound. It's come back maybe to the roots, come back original member, come back in this. It's like
in whatever shape we think.
Almost a departure. Yeah. Good call, Nate. Is it me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I got a few that I was kind of toying with. I'm going to move away from the kill switch-ish sound because there's a couple I could choose there. I'm going to go with Glassjaw. Material Control dropped in 2017, 15 years after Worship and Tribute, which was on Warner Brothers. And I'm going to cut to the chase. This is not a glowing comeback, best album ever type of review. This is a good, not great album. So I loved everything. Everything you ever want to know about Silence, Worship and Tribute. Tough to top those, right? For that genre, you can't beat it. I guess the reason I chose this is I kind of want to kind of chop this up with you guys. And it's going to sound harsh, but why release this? And not in a this sucks lens, but like literally, like what would cause a band 15 years later with 2 original members to come back and put an album out? I mean, they'd put EPs out, but just curious.
I have a question for you that you may know the answer that I don't. Same record label? Are they trying to satisfy a... Nope.
No.
Okay.
This was...
That's where my head went to the same exact spot. It's funny.
Well, I know they had problems with Roadrunner for whatever reason. They signed with Warner Brothers, and then commercially, I don't think Worship and Tribute did great. But Material Control, I'm trying to look real quick. I don't even know what label this was on. I think it was on Century Media. Okay. So big, I think they're Century Media is probably an imprint at one of the majors, but yeah, well, they're distributed through Sony. So no, not to satisfy a deal.
Yeah, it's a tough one to decipher. I mean, when you said that tone, that's where my head went. So if it's not that, then I think the secondary to that would be proving to people that fund your tour, that you're going to have something tangible to tour off, or some kind of excitement. You can't just be like, oh, we're going to come back and people are going to buy tickets. Like have something to have some strong marketing to support. I mean, something to go out there like, hey, wait, something to talk about other than just revisits on the
Did they
stuff.
tour off this?
They did, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did, because they did the co-headline with Quicksand, and this was shortly after that. And I'm not hating on this record. Like, Glassjaw is probably a top 15 band for me. I love those first 2 records. This is a case of where I'm benchmarking against their brilliant records. It's a good to great record, but it just didn't live up to the 15-year hype. And I think this is where the difference of the Tool record with Glassjaw, where it's like the product was maybe not what I was expecting.
I tried to get into this and couldn't, and I like their other stuff. So I probably would have gone to see them around this time just because I hadn't seen them and I like their other stuff, and they can't play the whole a whole new record. They got to play some other stuff too. So that would have been my chance to go take a pee, as we talked about with Greg last week. But yeah, it's I couldn't get into it, and I need to give it another try. But I like their other stuff so much more, and even the Head Automatica stuff with Daryl, I like more, and would have been better for me. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is a good question as to why release it. Maybe that's just the direction they wanted to go. But I mean, now we're 4 years removed from that coming out, and
exactly, yeah,
we've gotten really nothing more from them.
Yeah,
since.
They re-released the Coloring Book EP, which came out years and years ago. But they've always been that. Again, it's that New England. It's that Long Island mysterious. Something in the water about being mysterious and leaving everyone guessing. And I'm glad they're still doing it. It didn't necessarily scratch the itch, but by definition of 15-year gap, I mean that's huge. It fits the definition of comeback.
That's a bigger gap than the Tool gap. It was 13 plus. That's a long time.
Oh. Yeah, I'm puzzled, and I'm in the same boat because I checked it out once, and it was when they were coming through. So I was like, I got to check out new stuff, but it didn't really draw me in. So yeah, I think you're right.
We all love this band, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Exactly. There's something to be said about just striking while all the iron's hot. So maybe they just fizzled out for so long and tried to rush it. Maybe, I don't know.
Although I did read Citizen, the third track on the album was written in the 90s.
Okay.
You know, which is interesting. Yeah. It's crazy.
That's interesting. I didn't know that at all. I got to revisit. I think it's probably something. It's like I said earlier, doing this podcast has kind of unearthed some things for me, and having a little more of an open mind when listening to something is definitely up there as far as is it something I can talk about? Is it something I want to listen to and appreciate differently because I pay more attention than I used to? That could happen. So maybe it's something I'll end up liking. Who knows? I mean, sometimes bands and albums need that time to percolate and sit, and then you come back to it and you're like, whoa, I hear it now. Didn't hear it at first. So who knows?
I think what you just said, combined with the fact that one of the songs was written in 98, answers my own question, where maybe I should be viewing this as almost like a mixtape or a collection, like a B-sides and rarities type of thing, and not, because it's not a traditional album cycle.
Right.
And the fact that one of these songs is from 98 tells me these were written over many years. And that's kind of why I asked about Tool. It's like, do we think these were written closer to the release date? I was just curious about it.
All right. We ready for my last one, maybe?
Yeah.
Second one anyway, probably last. We'll see how we do here. I've got a couple. I might outsource this to you guys.
Nice.
I've got one that's a comeback, and it's really a comeback for just one person, but he's the front man of a band. And then I've got one where the band is coming back to the front man.
Wow. Yeah. Inception.
Think about it. Exactly. It's a dream inside a dream. What do you want? Which one do you guys want?
If whatever one we pick, will you tell us the other one?
Yeah, totally. Yep.
All right, Nate, you pick one. Flip a coin.
Band coming back to the member, because I don't even know.
All right. I like that. And this is another one that was mastered in Portland, Maine, which will give you a little bit of, drink. Everybody drink. Mastered in Portland, Maine. Massive name. Massive record. A lot of people equate this as kind of, not a response to, but like born out of the 9/11 tragedy. We've talked about it in passing in the past on this podcast. We've talked about this artist a bunch in this podcast. One of my favorite shows of all time.
The Rising.
Yep. Bruce Springsteen's The Rising.
Oh, yeah.
First record with the E Street Band in years. He'd done a bunch of solo stuff through the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And they came back together. And even on I think the first song is Lonesome Day. You hear Clarence on the saxophone and you're like, I'm home, man. Like, this is what we wanted the whole time. And it's got some catchy songs on it. I mean, the early 2000s, Bruce, I love that stuff. It's obviously not as tried and true or time worn as Darkness on the Edge of Town or Born to Run or E Street Shuffle, stuff like that, but it's good. It's really good. And now it's getting on 20 years for some of it, and it's still really good. Like, the guy writes great songs. Like, he always has, he always will. And then when he gets in the studio with the E Street Band, continues to do it. I mean, he put out Letters to You, a letter to you a year ago, year and a half.
Yep.
And watching that documentary on Apple TV, just because I'm a fan, watching him work with the E Street Band, it was awesome. Like, they just have a chemistry that they've had for a long time with a lot of the same members. And this was, right in the sweet spot. Let's get the band back together. Exactly what it was. Like, how we started, let's do it. Let's make a record, focusing some of this energy into a positive light from a kind of a downtime in our country's history. So yeah, Bruce Springsteen, The Rising, just a great record.
So I know my dad actually saw him supporting this album, or it was after this album came out. I don't know if it was like right when it came out, but I remember him saying he must have loved this album because he played a lot off this album and actually held off on a lot of the big hits to play more of this new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, a lot of like 9/11 themes. I remember. I haven't listened to this album. I remember listening to it many, many years ago. I haven't listened to it in a long time. I did not know that this was the first album with the full band returning. So
yeah, it had been a while.
I learned something new. If you learn something new tonight, drink.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and they had other commitments too. Like my flub the other day was at Max Weinberg, right? The drummer.
Yeah, at the time. Yeah.
Who were we talking about? I had the wrong drummer, the wrong band.
Oh, we were talking about
Mark
all kinds
Weinstein.
of drummers. Who knows?
Yeah, Mark Weinstein.
Jim Weinberg. Yeah, who knows?
He has other commitments because he was the drummer for Conan, right? For kind of in Conan's heyday, really.
Yeah, the best Conan. The Late Night with Conan O'Brien. He was the best. I love that show.
Yeah. So to pull people from commitments like that, like that's a contract. Like he's in a set contract with NBC, so to duck out and do a tour with Bruce and, like you said, get the band back together. They really are a legacy act. So if there's any getting the band back together kind of quotation, like the Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band is definitely that one for at least the United States. So it's such an iconic songwriter, and I mean it's like a Cheers TV show, right? It's like it's just like warm, like this is good stuff.
It just feels comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
It always feels comfortable to throw on a Bruce and or Bruce and the E Street Band track, because I don't know. I've always listened to him. That we talk about our musical come ups a lot, and this is another artist that just kind of was playing in the car when I was with my dad. That the type of thing, and it just feels like home.
This was what, 2002?
Yeah, 2002.
Right?
Yep.
Holy shit! Yeah, 20. We'll be doing a 20-year look back next year on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Spin the wheel, right, Nate?
Exactly. Good opportunity for spin the wheel. Yeah. No, I love Bruce Springsteen. Good call tone. I mean, Bruce Springsteen's like bragging rights from being from the United States, right? It's like hearty, good person, strong, patriotic, but not douchey.
Yep. Produced by Brendan O'Brien.
Oh,
nice.
wow.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Produced by Brendan O'Brien produced a lot of Pearl Jam stuff, right?
He did Crow Left to the Murder.
Did he?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Brendan O'Brien gets some shine tonight. I like that.
And drink once again because Bob Ludwig.
Yeah, I already said that, bro.
Oh, did you? Drink again.
Drink again because Nate said Bob Ludwig out of Gateway Studios in Portland, Maine. Yeah, if you guys don't know, if you're new to the Podioslave podcast, Gateway Studios in Portland, Maine is a massive mastering studio. It's probably small, but they master some of the biggest albums, some of the top names that you've ever heard: Tool, Bruce Springsteen, etc. Go look Bob Ludwig up, and he's got multiple Grammys. So mastering here in sunny Portland, Maine, on the coast of southern Maine in New England. So
Tone, what was the one? I mean, we won't deep dive into it. What was the one that we didn't pick?
Like Clockwork by Queens of the Stone Age.
Ah, okay.
Home had hurt his knee, had a surgery, was like bedridden for like 4 months, was a mess. They lost their drummer, and
Joey.
Joey left, and they ended up bringing everybody else back to kind of tour on the reissue of Self-Titled, their first record as Queens of the Stone Age, and then they kind of went. I heard this described as David Bowie-esque around the time it came out, and some of the press that Josh Homme was doing for it. And I agree. It's got it's kind of trippy. Reznor's on it. Like it's a great record. I love Like Clockwork. It might be my favorite Queens album from front to back. I love other Queens albums for different reasons, but as a cohesive unit, it's this, unless I'm in the mood for that desert rock of Songs for the Deaf. It depends. They waffle for me.
Yeah. Drink if you heard cohesive.
or Queens of the Stone Age, because we bring their house band too.
Yep.
So actually, that's a great segue into house band. One that I didn't do, and I'll just mention it by name because we're going to save this for a full episode, is Diamond Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Deftones Diamond Eyes. And
I had that written down.
I'm not going to get into it. We'll save that for the... I don't know when we're going to do that one because it's probably going to be like a 3-episode series.
We love the Deftones. There are,
We'll save that one. But that was an alternate and a couple others that maybe we'll save next time we do this.
Yeah, I can give you one more. Just alternate because I like doing that, but not actually... I actually do. Californication. I mean...
Huge comeback.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
And controversial opinion number 3 from Tone tonight. I don't hate One Hot Minute.
It gets dogged. It definitely gets dogged.
It does, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Now, on the tier of what Red Hot Chili Peppers did after, okay, sure. But okay, we'll save that for another time because this is more pod topics.
I think that's a full app. Yeah,
that's a full app. We love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And hey, comeback albums we're waiting for. I mean, that could be a whole thing.
It actually was confirmed. I thought. I just
no,
saw
I know.
headline.
I'm talking just generally speaking, like a new comeback album from a band that we're waiting for them to come back. Rage.
Oh yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, obviously doing their thing. There's plenty of bands that were like, "Hey, it's time. Let's go. Let's see something."
Yeah, and then it could fall into that category with Glassjaw. Could it be a commercial flop, commercial success, just something to tour off? I mean, Chinese Democracy was basically just a reason to tour. I feel like, and then they reunited with the original band after.
But I mean, dude, Axl pimped that for so long.
I know.
Oh,
I remember hearing that first, like, oh, hey, here's our first song from that on like WBLM, which is our classic rock station in Maine, Southern Maine. And I was like, dude, no, this isn't GNR. You guys should have stayed. You should have stayed in the late 80s, early 90s. November Rain was it. We could be done now.
Right. I remember Super Bowl with his corn rolls. That was like 2002.
Oh, my God. That wasn't good. Yeah, it was not good. Yeah. We can shit on Axl. He's never coming out here.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
We all love Slash, though, right? Slash is cool.
Axl was late, 4 hours late for his live stream at his house.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. He was. Go back and listen to our real or fake headlines segment. All right, that's a good spot to wrap, probably, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
We get alternates. We'll save them for the next time.
Hit us up on the social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere. Twitter and Instagram at Podioslave. I believe we're also the same on TikTok. Podioslave podcast@gmail.com. And yeah, just we're around. We love talking to fans. We love talking to people who listen. We love talking to like nerds like ourselves. Hit us up if you like what you hear. If you want us to do something, you got an idea for a segment. Yeah, we're all ears, man.
Yeah, agreed. Send us your comeback albums that we missed. I'm curious. I've had a few written down. I'm not going to go over them, but I'm curious what's out there for deep dive comeback albums.
Oh, Chip has a few. Chip, I'm
some.
talking to you right now. Hit us up.
Chip's got some.
Mike in Texas has a few.
Yep.
Ed in Boston must have a few.
Definitely. Yep. Nate in North Carolina. I'm sure he does too.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks for sticking with us, and we will be back next week. See ya.
Peace, pod heads.
Cheers, everyone.
Da 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 da.
Leave that. Put that part in.